Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Welcome back to OC Power Players, where I interview some of the most successful people in Orange County. My name is Danny Flores, your host, and today we have Diane Weaver, zooming in from Laguna Hills as our honored guest. Diane Weaver is a fifth-generation entrepreneur and innovator with a strong passion for domain-driven design that leverages emerging technologies. She has played a crucial role in Barion from its inception to execution. Her expertise lies at the intersection of artificial intelligence and human intelligence, focusing on integrating both to develop smart, simple solutions for complex challenges. Diane's enthusiasm for the historical evaluation of data and technology drives her adaptable and innovative approach to technology and business. Welcome, Diane.
Thank you so much for having me, Danny. It's great to be here.
Yes. So tell us about what you do and how you got there.
Well, it's a great setup for some good storytelling, right?
Right.
So, I'll start with how I got here. I like to kind of introduce myself to new people by saying I grew up working on a farm and being chased by paparazzi. My parents came from completely different worlds, and so I learned early on the importance of being able to navigate multiple worlds, let's say, but also the importance of being a translator between two very different worlds or very different perspectives. So that role has really helped me attract opportunities to flex that muscle that I just became really comfortable with early on. So I get really curious about how and why people learn. I get really curious about languages. I get really curious about, bringing all of that together to understand people better. And what better way to do that than through technology, because then you can do it at scale. So that's just a little bit about me. So now I work remotely. I work from home. I work on with a really great founding team over at Barions.ai. And we are building technology that helps people figure out how to solve what I like to call the number one problem facing all of us today. And that is translating how do I work differently in a post-AI world? And what does that look like for me? How does that help me move forward in obtaining what I want out of life? And that's what we're solving.
Well, that's super interesting because that is the latest and greatest in technology and at the forefront of all conversations. AI, you got to get involved. It's here. Embrace it, learn it. And it's just like, I think I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, that only about 16% of the companies are using it. So it seems like there's so much room for growth and for learning. Now, how do you guys improve or use AI to improve somebody's operations or somebody's time? Because time, when we can buy back time, AI does things so automatic and so fast. It's like amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think there are multiple use cases for AI. And one of my favorite things about my co-founders and partners currently is that we've all been working in AI for decades, actually. We're in the third wave of AI. If you think about it, first there was automation, and then hyper personalization through algorithms. And then and that also helped with, really amping up what we could automate and when and how and why, to bring some of those efficiencies and tasks and things like that, to help us with our day-to-day. And then now we're in this unique chapter of generative AI. And what's different about this, and why I personally get really drawn into it, is because it's language based, which makes it look, sound, and feel much more human than technology has looked, sounded, or felt in the past. But at the heart of it, it's really just very good software. So because it presents human-like qualities, and because as humans, we all project human qualities on basically everyone and everything around us, it feels even more human, right?
Right, right, right.
So it's this really interesting mirroring that we see happening. So for a lot of folks, it brings up some deep-seated fear that's actually, I believe, really ingrained in us. And like through evolution and everything. And then like people have evolved that way. And if you look at, this is where my passion for technology through history comes into play. Because if you look at when the camera was invented and when moving pictures were invented, people really thought that photography and moving pictures were stealing a part of human soul because it was capturing it so well. So I think we're seeing and feeling a similar kind of reaction to generative AI, which is different than the rest of the AI that's come before, because it looks and feels and presents so human. Now, two sides to the coin, and that dynamic makes some things a lot better and some things a lot worse. And just like when photography hit the market way back then,
Right, right, right.
artists were really terrified that they would be out of a job. The most lucrative or, consistent way that an artist could support themselves is through family portraits. Now people had a camera apparatus that could do this for them, right? But the interesting thing is that after photography, we then saw things like Impressionism. And it actually opened the door to a whole other way of expressing ourselves artistically. And so we're trying to figure this out with generative AI. We're at this point, I like to talk about it like we're stepping through the doorway into the intelligence age. So rethinking a lot of things. And we will come out of this really transformed, not only in our industries and businesses around the world, but personally and in our personal lives, and to varying degrees. Of course, there will be some people out there who will just be like, there's no impact on me, and they might be right, and that's fine. But for folks who are highly impacted about this, they need a lifeline, because when you think about the workforce today, we're so groomed to see a job post, see the skills listed, and say, okay, I can do that. And then once I'm hired, I get my tasks, and all of those tasks roll up into KPIs that I'm measured against. Well, so that has really groomed into us some deep-seated expectations, right? So now our employers are looking at us and saying, look at this wonderful opportunity. You get to rethink your position. You get to rethink your role. You get to rethink your processes. And it's no wonder people are like, what? What do you mean? This is this that's just extra work, right?
Right, right. Yeah. Too much
So
change.
yeah, it's like it's change. It's asking people to do things that we've historically explicitly asked them not to do. Do not reinvent your job. We just need you to do this, right? And now
Yeah.
we're like, oh, you get to reinvent your job. We can talk about like a code switch, right?
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating. So there are so many companies that are out there building widgets and wrappers around AI to improve tools and processes and efficiencies and all those things. And that's fantastic. Use them. Utilize the ones that you feel like will help you with your tasks and help you with, starting to try things out and embracing things. When you want to start to really reflect on how you want to transform as a employee, as a worker, as a person, come to Baryons. So it's a voice-enabled, agentic experience. It's not just one agent that you're talking to, but you're just talking to one voice. It's actually an orchestrator with multiple agents with personas that have been trained. We've trained them to be your very best coach, mentor, cheerleader, lifeline, all the different personas that you might need professionally to help you, especially in this transformation. So let's say your boss calls you into their office. That I'm using old terminology specifically, right?
Okay. Okay.
It's probably more like puts a meeting on your calendar, you go into the Zoom and you start
Yeah.
talking about what's working well, what's not working well. You get some feedback.
Right.
And they might suggest something that perhaps you've thought about before, or you feel like you've gone down that path before and you just see the roadblocks. Well, the Baryons mentor will actually give you a safe space to think differently through the problem or situation at hand, right?
Mhm.
So you can go back to your desk virtually, hang up the Zoom, and dial into your Baryons mentor and just start to explain the situation. My boss asked me this. I know it's not going to work because of this. And then that immersive voice enabled experience is going to talk to you in a way that will help you kind of work through the problem solving and start to see potentially perspectives or brainstorm in ways that you might not have thought of in that moment. And it's not judgmental and it is perfectly patient and you can role play with it. So not only can I get some great ideas on how I need to navigate, what do I do next, but I can practice role playing with it before I go back to my manager and talk to them. And so it becomes really
Wow.
powerful. Yeah.
Wow. Now I have two questions.
Yeah.
One, you mentioned multiple AIs, and it's the generative AI. I guess that's the common one that they talk about now, because I understand AI has existed for many years. So can you explain to the audience what generative AI is so that everybody understands? One,
Yeah.
and two, you're talking about agents and creating for yourself. So does that mean that you guys, Baryons, creates something for individuals, or is it more for companies that are targeted?
Yeah.
So
Great
two
question.
questions.
Great questions. So let's tackle the first one. What is generative AI? So it's language based. What it's doing is what makes it unique is that it's processing millions of data at
Mhm.
once. And that gives it the ability to predict what might come next. So everything on the internet, everything that it scrapes on the internet, and then everything that a company, an AI company that's building for AI solutions will also, or in place of, train it on very specific data and information. And then there are layers of memory so that it doesn't, and this is the difference between like ChatGPT and Baryon's mentor, is that what it's doing is it's referencing first the ways that we trained it, not just the general internet like you get with ChatGPT.
Right.
So it references those different personas that we've trained it to do based on the questions that you ask, the problems that you bring to it to be a thought partner and solve together. So then that leads me to the second question, and all of that is language based, which is interesting. So, and because the way that we use language is actually pretty predictable, and we've known that because of the algorithms that we've used to automate, different things and chatbots before generative AI.
Now, when you mean language-based, does that mean as simple as talking to ChatGPT like we talk a text and tell it our ideas without having to type it? Is that what that means?
So that's what I would call voice enabled. Voice enabled means talking to it.
Uh-huh.
Language based means that the database that it's pulling from
Yes.
is actual blocks of language and like
Mm.
paragraphs of things,
Yes.
and not just like numbers or, disparate words in a database.
Okay. All right. Okay. And let's do agents and how the agents help us as individuals or as a company, right?
Yes. Yeah. So this is a really interesting question. And also important to note is that all of this, even, as I'm talking about it hypothetically, and when I talk about it in terms of Barion specifically, it's all in its infancy. No matter what you hear and see, companies say, this is just going to get better and more human focused and human centered. That's our hope, right? It will actually be Dickinsonian, I like to say. It
Mhm.
will be Dickinsonian. The good things will get better and bad things will get worse and everything
Yeah.
in between, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so when we're talking about agents, and agents for change and transformation in the workplace, the reason why we build it with multiple agents is because there are multiple players here. And it's important for the individual person to be supported in navigating their place and their role within the context of their employment. And that's hard. That's really hard. It's dynamic. It's always changing because our coworkers are always changing, our managers are changing, and we're human. We all, even if there isn't turnover, we're all evolving, right? So it's going to stay dynamic. So when so yeah, I'm not quite sure where to go from here on the agent uh, side of things without getting too technical, but
Right.
is
Right.
that helpful? So if I were to tell my Baryons mentor, hey, I want to work on these things professionally, it's going to help me work on those things professionally. And if I tell it, hey, my boss says I need to work on this and I want to work on this, it's going to help me it's going to help me find alignment between the two in a way that's going to benefit me as a human. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah, all the tools that are available that, I mean, us that are not professionals in the AI industry like yourself, just kind of becoming aware. It's just sometimes it seems like it's just so much information coming at us all at once, and it's just like our head's going to blow up. It's overwhelming. Aside from doing our work, we have to learn something new. But that can be so beneficial at the same time, right?
It can be, but it's hard not to feel overwhelmed by all of it. And that's why we were like, well, do we want to just like go down the path of major mega automation, task automation, or do we want to build something that's really going to help the human, you know, help them with their cognitive load, help the
Right, right,
human figure this out
right.
as they go and help them feel like they're not alone in it. They can have this space that is not judgmental and perfectly patient and really
Hmm.
practice different possible scenarios.
Right. Now, if somebody that's listening wants to start learning more about all of this, what do you think is the best route to start?
Yeah, the very best thing to do is to go to baryons.ai and join the wait list. So we have a wait list there. What that will do is it will put you into our system and we'll start sending you some messages for when different seats are available. You can do different things while you're on the wait list to improve your chances of bumping up the wait list
Hmm.
as well. Things like telling your friends, following us on social media, engaging with us, and different things like that, really help to signal that you're serious and ready to try something new and immersive.
Hmm. Wow, very interesting, very interesting. Now, what has been one of your biggest challenges that you've had to overcome in your career?
Oh, this is such a great question. I mean, so I haven't always been an entrepreneur because there are a lot of entrepreneurs in my family, and there was a time when I was like, oh, I'm never going to do that. But in my career, I've been in ed tech for the majority of my career. So really all about how can I help people along their own learning paths and help them, get where they want to be. And so, really figuring out how to better understand where people are. I think this is a constant struggle. And I feel like the deeper I get into the tech, the harder it is to really meet people where they are, right? And
Mhm.
so it is a constant, I don't like to use the term balance as much anymore because that's still either or. It's more of a dance. Like you have this dance partner, right? And sometimes you're leading and sometimes you're following and the steps move over the steps change over time. And
Right.
so figuring out like how do I position myself as a technologist to be human first and to really feel like I can understand where people are starting. And then one thing that I learned is specifically, there was a chapter of my life when I was building out adaptive learning software for very small children. And what I learned there was that where you think people are starting, you need to begin even two steps ahead of that point. And
Mhm.
that takes a lot of imagination
Yeah,
to
right.
anticipate and to get it right. And there's more failure than wins in this
Right.
work. And you
Yeah.
just have to be super comfortable with that and feel like I'm learning all along the way.
Yeah. And see, that's the life of an entrepreneur, right? A
Yeah.
lot of failures and a small amount of wins, and those wins could usually be big wins. And so that's what everybody sees. It's like, oh wow, this is so glamorous. You got it easy, but they don't see all the failures in between that took you to get to that. And I would imagine in your world there are, because it's moving so fast.
Yes. Yes. In fact, there's so many failures and you really have to reframe them like learning experiences, right? And then the wins happen and then you move on so quickly that like you almost forget that the win even happened, right? So like
Right?
this is an Emmy right here.
I see that. Yeah.
That's my grandfather's Emmy. He was
Wow.
a television and radio pioneer.
Hmm.
And so that's his Emmy. And I tell people that's my inspiration. It was his, you know, tenacity and
Hmm.
his innovation and his constantly sharing out his thoughts and ideas freely that and the bravery behind that that inspire me. If that was mine, it would be in a box somewhere because I would see it and I would see all the fails, right?
Right.
And that's one of the
Yeah.
realities
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
being wired like this, right? So I think that's one thing that's really helped me is recognizing like that's okay. What I need to figure out is like what inspires me, fills my cup, gets me jumping out in the morning. It doesn't need to look like it doesn't need to look the same as anybody else's. I just need
Right.
to figure that out and hold on to that.
Right. So let me ask you one simple question. Do you celebrate your wins?
Yes, I do now. There was a time when I didn't, because I think because I was overcoming perfectionism and stuff, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is also like, very strong typically in the entrepreneurial personality, right? So
Hmm.
like so there was a chapter when I didn't celebrate wins and I just kept like it became harder to get back up, right? And so it's
Yeah.
like, all right, this is actually really critical that I give myself this so that I can get
Yeah.
up, you know, tomorrow.
Right. 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 You know,
Yeah.
we get like so involved and it's just like, that's another win. All right, keep going, keep going, keep going. We had
Yeah.
to really stop and say, hey, wait a minute, we did accomplish something here. It was a battle to get here. We should at least celebrate some way, right?
Yes,
Make it a big
exactly.
thing. Yes.
Yeah. When you reach that peak and your eyes land on the next peak,
Hmm.
stop, stop and have a picnic.
Right, right.
Even
Yeah.
if you feel like there's no time.
Well, here's the thing, Diane. There's never going to be enough time for that. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And you just have to calendar it, as like I like to put it. If you need to have dinner with someone or lunch with someone or a small celebration, you just put it on the calendar and that's what you do for that day.
I love that. I actually
Right.
really love that idea. And I imagine that if you calendared that out, you would be able to think of something to celebrate as a win. I really love that idea. I've thought about it. I think one of the mental models or shifts that I made too was to redefine the finish line. And if you make the celebration part of your process, like it's not
Mhm.
finished until I celebrate,
Right.
then then it'll happen.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. And it'll give you that moment to really, I guess, embrace that accomplishment because you got to make it happen that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just so much work just getting there. You just celebrate a little bit and then keep on to the next,
Yeah.
right? So,
Hmm.
so now as an entrepreneur, one of the things that one of the reasons why we do this is our whys, they could vary, from financial freedom to time or various ways of kind of set ourselves up for the future. Um, and some entrepreneurs take the step to try to diversify their income a little bit and
Hmm.
potentially go out and invest passively in other types of assets. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. I am a huge believer in that. I really think so. And I think that your longevity as an entrepreneur depends on it
Mhm.
because there are, there there are ceilings that we imagine and ceilings that we encounter that we can't control. And so if we've diversified in a way that gets us excited and keeps us interested and curious,
Right.
then we got to do it, right? So like if real estate is your thing, do it. Like mix it up with commercial real estate, right? Try it
Right.
out. Try out owning an Airbnb or a
Mhm.
short-term rental and find
Mhm.
the right, co-host to run it for you if you don't have the time, but you're
Right.
interested in, you think that like, oh, maybe in a few years that's something that I want to pursue. Just start
Mhm.
pursuing it now and find partners to delegate to make those things happen because and advisory board seats, like take them if it,
Mhm.
especially when they're offering, and some equity or even a small, salary or compensation, like take them because you never know which other advisory seat it's going to lead to. And then at
Right.
some point, you'll get to this point where your day is filled with advisory board meetings and passive, like, managing and monitoring your passive income or your properties or whatever that
Mhm.
is.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with you. It's important to just have more than your eggs not all in one basket per se, right? Diversify a little bit, get multiple streams of income, and those are the ones that bring you the stability when there's market conditions that change whatever you're doing in one investment versus the other.
Yeah.
So as we
So
wrap up, go ahead.
could I share one more cognitive shift
Absolutely.
that's about this part? Like, how do I, if I'm supposed to, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, and if I feel that requirement or pull to spend 100% of my efforts on that business, right? So what helped me with this cognitive shift to broaden that to all of the different possible passive incomes and investments
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
to start imagining myself as the organization, right? So now
Right,
I'm CEO of Diane Weaver Inc., right?
right,
Not
right, right,
just COO and co-founder of Barion's AI. That
right.
is that is a focus here, but first and foremost, I'm CEO of Diane Weaver Inc. and I'm married, and so there's marriage partnership in there that gets
Mhm.
my attention, and there's everything that we're involved in, children, family, all of those things. Like how I think especially for women and women in technology, how do you have it all? Like, well, number one, you can't have it all at once. You can have it all just at different times and chapters in your life, right?
Right, right.
And and then just expanding your efforts to really see yourself as the investment is key there.
I kind of picture it, kind of what you said, almost like a puppet master, right? You got a lot of things going and you want the arm to move up or the leg to move over here, and you're just like pulling the strings and kind of making it all happen.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of cool that way.
It is cool. It makes it fun. Like
Yeah,
the most fun venture that you'll ever be part of is your own life adventure, right?
right, right. We
Yeah.
get to create the life that we want
Yeah.
and we get to write new chapters consistently.
Yes. Yes.
So we can't get bogged down on a bad chapter because they're going to happen.
Yeah.
Because we get to rewrite the next one. We can make it whichever way we want based on the learning experience, the mentors or whoever can help us get to there and move up a level or two.
So true.
Yes, yes, yes. So as we wrap up our interview,
Mhm.
we're quarter into the to 2005 already. What does the rest of the year look like for you? What's exciting coming
Yeah.
up?
I mean, 2025, first and foremost, is agentic. It's thinking about AI as not just one assistant, but multiple.
Mhm.
Um, so that's really the theme of this year. And then I would just encourage also to make 2025 about whatever fills your cup.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, Diane, thanks so much for sharing your tips and your insights on AI. That's just so much talked about today. And if somebody's listening, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, feel free to email me at diane@barions.ai or look me up on LinkedIn, Diane Weaver, and happy to connect. Happy
Very
to
good.
help everyone just, make it happen.
All right, Diane. Well,
Okay.
thanks again so much. And to our audience, please go to ocpowerplayers.com, follow us on your favorite channel, and don't forget to like us. Thank you, Diane.
Thanks, Danny.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.